Hi guys. Today we are going to work on taking a virtual or starting to collect data on taking a virtual trip to see our focus organism. Now, for some of you guys, this is going to be difficult because it might be challenging to pick one place. So I'm going to walk you through what it was like for me to research the Mudskippers. And then we're going to figure out with Google Earth and with TripAdvisor if we wanted to go on a class field trip to see the Mudskipper, where would we go and how would we get there? Now, if you have yeast, you might do a virtual field trip to a baker or to a chemistry lab, or thinking like your virtual field trip doesn't have to be somewhere in nature. Maybe if you're studying bacteria, your virtual field trip is to a research laboratory where they're studying bacteria. Fungi, there's probably like the fungi that you guys are studying, they're all over the world. And so just pick a place that you might want to go see them and collect some data, and maybe a place that they occur in the wild naturally, or maybe there is a place where they've invaded. As far as like lions and stuff go, just pick a reserve in Africa, like Botswana or the Serengeti, and just pick a place like that, and then we'll plan a trip. So you could plan a trip to an actual place. You could plan a trip to a zoo. And like let us know about that. And you can plan a trip to a research laboratory. If there's any other ideas, I'll think about it and let me know. So you know that I'm studying the Mudskipper, and the first thing I need to know is where in the heck could we go see Mudskippers in the wild? And I'm not going to worry so much about my specific species. I'm going to worry about the category of Mudskippers. So I went to Google and I searched Mudskippers in the wild. And I started looking at what comes up, and I see Mudskippers live in tropical and subtropical waters of various salinity and tidal mudflats. I already know that. So I want to know, where are Mudskippers found? There are some really cool PBS nature documentaries, and I have watched one where they were found on the mudflats of Japan. And so that was an option for me. Like, I already knew that they were in Japan, but I just kind of wanted to collect some more information. And when I started scrolling around where Mudskippers found, and I scrolled that down, and I was like, Mudskippers are found in the Indo-Pacific from Africa, Polynesia, and Australia. That's a huge area. So I just, was keep looking, and I came to a wild Singapore. And I thought, I've never been to Singapore. I want to go to Singapore. Let's research Singapore. So I skipped on Mudskipper. I clicked on this website, and this is a wild fact sheets of Wild Singapore's homepage. So I thought this was kind of cool, and it looks like it's a .com. But so I'm a little bit cautious, but I'm still looking. Mudskippers are commonly seen on many of our shores. So this is a Singaporean publication, and it's in English because people who travel oftentimes speak English. So often mistaken for frogs, Mudskippers are actually fish that breathe with gills. I got that. Here's some features. Here's fish out of water. And then I'm thinking, man, this is an awesome website of information. They're masters of the mudflats, and I knew that already, but I want to know how I can fly to Singapore and go out and see Mudskippers on a mudflat. So then I scroll down and I think, ooh, look at this. A tunnel at the base of the, quote, swimming pool in this Sungi Buloh wetland reserve. Wait, what? There's a wetland reserve? I need to know more about that. And then, oh, look at their footprints. That is so bizarre, right? Like, that's not what you would expect for Mudskipper footprints. And guess where those were taken? The Sungi Buloh Wetland Reserve. I love traveling. I love nature. Traveling across the world to see a wetland reserve sounds exactly perfect for me. Then what Mudskippers are found, what Mudskippers were recorded for Singapore, and my specific species isn't on here, but I don't care. I just want to see a Mudskipper. And then, of course, there's links to some more information, a guide to mangroves of Singapore. That looks like that could be cool. So I'm going to, keep this. One of the things that I'm going to do before I get too crazy, based on yesterday and losing information, I'm going to copy this link, Control C, and I'm going to go to my slideshow. You can see I've been working on it. And I'm going to go to my reference page, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that link in there so I have a series. Now, what I should do is paste the name of the page so that I can go back and find it easier, but I'm not that organized, and I don't want to, I get so excited about researching, I forget about the organization part. So I'm going to go back to my page. One of the things I found on here, human uses, we should talk about human uses and human threats and those kind of things as we wrap up this project. Human uses, the giant mud skipper is eaten in some places such as Taiwan. They are caught with nets strung at ground level or with cast nets. And so the status and threats of that giant mud skipper is it's threatened mainly due to habitat loss. Our other mudskippers are not listed as endangered. However, like other creatures of the intertidal zone, they are affected by human activities such as reclamation. Reclamation meaning like taking over the mud flat to do something else, build houses, tourism, and pollution. So this is more like I didn't have this information before, and I wouldn't have found it if I hadn't been searching for a place to go. Awesome. So now I know I want to go to this wetland reserve. So I'm going to copy that here, and I'm going to go to a new link, and I'm going to put in that description, and lo and behold, I actually get a location. I'm going to actually figure out how to get my happy science butt all the way there to visit right now virtually. But now, you guys, this is on my bucket list. I have been a lot of places in my life around the world, and I've never been to Singapore, and now I really want to go, and I really want to see mudskippers in the wild. So this is a Google map, and then, of course, you can see I've been clicking on look at the national parks .gov of Singapore. That sounds like fantastic. But the first thing I want to do is I want to go to Google Maps, and I want to figure out, where this thing is. And of course, you go to Google Maps, and like that is too. So there's my wetland reserve right here. It's closed right now because what time is it in Singapore? I don't even know, but it does open in the morning. So I'm going to scroll out, and I see my wetland reserve is right here, Singapore, and Singapore is near Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur is Malaysia. The Philippines, Cambodia, Vietnam, and as I keep scrolling out, there's my wetland reserve to kind of keep it marked. Here's Burma, and I actually taught high school at a international school in Yangon, which is the capital of Myanmar or Burma, and it's kind of on the coast here. I've been to Thailand, I've been to Laos, I've been to Vietnam. I've been to India. I haven't been to Bangladesh, but I really kind of want to go to Bangladesh. It seems very cool. So this is a part of the world that I actually lived in Burma, but I never went to Singapore. So now I'm like, ooh, this could be really cool. And so as I scroll out here, let me see if I can scroll out anymore. Oh, it's not letting me scroll out anymore. Now I want to figure out how in the heck do I get here and where exactly is here. Australia is right here. So pretty close. And we've got an Australia trip booked for spring break of 2021 with Mr. Framke. So as I come in closer, I start noticing the details of where this is. So I want to figure out how I would actually get to this wetland reserve in Singapore. So the next thing I did was I did some copying and pasting of Google Maps because I thought that was pretty cool. And I went to, let's see if I can find it. I went to Google Maps and I searched Denver Airport and to Singapore. Oh, so then what I did first is I went to Expedia.com and I said, how in the heck do I even get to Singapore? So I went to Expedia and I put flights and I put round trip and I went to Denver. Look at it, I wrote Denver and it came up Denver, and I wrote Singapore in all airports because I don't even really know anything about Singapore. I've decided I'm going to leave June 1st because this virtual learning will be over and I'll be ready to take a trip. This is pretend, but you get my gist. And then I'm going to come back June 15th. I'm going to stay for 2 weeks. You know what? If you're going that far, stay for as long as you can. I could even stay for 3 weeks maybe. So when I search, I'm going to try to find where exactly am I going to land when I get to Singapore, because I don't even know where that is. And then when I find that out, how do I get to my wetland reserve? Because that's really where I want to go. Round trip, $1,000. That's not that bad, actually. From look at our trip. Seriously, we're flying halfway around the world, literally halfway around the world. So I'm starting in Denver up here. I'm flying across the entire Pacific all the way to Singapore. And you'll notice that this city is there because when I went to my map or my flight itinerary, I noticed that I'm going to Denver to SEA to HND to SIN. And these are all airport codes. Like DEN is Denver, LAX is Los Angeles Airport, SEA is Seattle. So when you start traveling, you'll start learning these codes. I don't know what HND is. And it could be because it's international. I have never been there. But I do know that SIN is my final destination. So then I went to Google and I wrote SIN Airport Singapore. And it, lo and behold, came up with the Changi Airport. And I thought, that's kind of cool. So then I clicked on the Changi Airport. And I wanted to check out what it was about and where it was located. And then I realized, well, there's really not a map here. So I wonder, really from my brain to tell me where I am, I'm looking for a map. So COVID information, we're going to pretend that doesn't exist. Airport guide, flights. So I'm going to back up for a minute here. And I did notice in my Google search that this popped up with a map. So I'm going to click on that and see what comes up. And of course, this little map is so closely, it's so zoomed in. So I want to kind of scroll out a little bit and see where in the heck in Singapore are we? And I thought, and I've been studying this for a while, you guys. I thought, oh my gosh, here is Singapore. And I remember that my wetland reserve was along the Malaysia-Singapore border on this sort of rivery inner waterway thing. I don't even know what they call it here. So that would be something I would look up. It looks like it's a Johor Strait. So it kind of separates Malaysia from Singapore here. And I remember my wetland reserve was like somewhere around here. So this airport seems like a legitimate place to go. So now I'm going to say, I need directions. I need directions from the airport to my nature reserve. And of course, I've forgotten the name of my nature reserve because it's a name that I'm not familiar with. And I'm going to go back to this page. And it was Sunji Buloh Wetland Reserve. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that again into my directions. And I'm going to figure out where it goes. You guys, I had it on flight because I was doing flight. And so now I'm going to put it back on car, which for us would be a taxi when we go on this trip. And it's a 41-minute drive. So we have to spend 22 hours on the plane to get to the Singapore airport. And then we get to a 41-minute drive and we get to the wetland reserve. So now I want to zoom in on this wetland reserve. And I want to start seeing what in the heck is there and what's going on. And you guys, this looks like a heaven place for Miss Yama. So the other thing I like to do in Google Maps is switch to satellite view. I didn't go to Google Earth, but it could be a really cool idea to do that. And I noticed that it's like really, you remember with Google Satellite or Google Earth or these images, they're taken from space and they're taken every so often, and it depends on cloud cover and all of those things. And you can tell where this has kind of been chopped together. And so this isn't a very clear, great satellite view of the area I want to go. So now I went to Google and I searched my wetland reserve, and I wanted to know if I could get more information. Lo and behold, there's a map. Here is the ooh, look at this. There's a research and education center. That sounds like a really amazing place to work, and possibly just, for a year or two while you're traveling the world, or maybe a gap year. If your parents don't want you to do a gap year, don't tell them Miss Yama told you to, but gap years are amazing. Or maybe a summer trip, like maybe in your sophomore or junior year of high school, you take a summer trip and work, volunteer in a nature reserve. They have those programs. I can hook you up. And then I come to this nationalparks.gov page and I click on the nature reserve and I'm wondering, what's going to be seen. And I said, there's a visitor center, there's the reserve itself, there's a research institute. I'm interested in all of these things. Here is the national park page, and there is the map. And then of course I've got some cool pictures. So this is the wetland reserve in Singapore. It looks like that's the visitor center, which definitely, obviously, we'll go to. The observation pod looks pretty amazing. Coastal trail. And one of the things that my brain is zoning in on is look at this area here. The wetlands. Right, that tidal flat. That's where I want to hone in on. Ooh, there's my wetland center. I definitely need to go to this place. My mangrove boardwalk, this is where I'm gonna find my mudskippers, y'all. Look at this place. This is a beautiful, perfect place for me to find my mudskippers. So now I know I'm on the right track and I've picked a location. For today, that's all you're gonna do. You're going to pick a place in the world. Now, as you're doing that, the only thing you need to report back to me today is where are you going? As you are researching, I would definitely start to keep track of the information. Like, I'm not going to have you turn in all of these slides today, but you should probably be working on them, but don't turn them in because they're not going to be due until Friday. I really want this piece of where we're going to go and what we're going to do to be very cool. So you're going to start creating a series of slides that are going to take us on a trip. So let's go to Singapore, virtual trip to see Mudskippers. Your goal today is to find a place in the world. Is it a research laboratory? Is it a university? Is it like if you're doing yeast, maybe it's a beer factory for fermentation, or maybe it's a bakery. If fungi, where in the world? Is it a tropical rainforest? If it's a tropical rainforest, where in the world? Like if you're going to take us to Costa Rica, find a place in Costa Rica to take us. If you're going to take us to Africa, find a place in Africa to take us. When you get that place, that's what you're going to reply to the post. This took me a long time because I love research and this is awesome. But I want you to spend some time figuring out where in the world you're going to go. If you need help, check in with Google Meets and send me an email, whatever. This should feel fun. We're planning a trip. I will update you on what's next. But for today, your assignment, find a place. I'll see you soon.